0400 hours, deep South China Sea. The ocean is black and crushing. 400 feet below the churning surface, the U.S. attack submarine glides through the dark water like a steel shark. Inside the pressure hull, red combat lighting bathes the command center in a crimson glow. The air is recycled, cool, and smells faintly of ozone and stale coffee. Sailors sit motionless at their consoles, faces illuminated by the green flicker of digital displays. The only sound is the low, steady hum of the ventilation fans and the distant groan of the hull compressing under the weight of the sea. The sonar supervisor stiffens in his chair. He presses the headphones tighter against his ears. His fingers fly across the keyboard, isolating a specific frequency. A faint, rhythmic thumping bleeds through the background static of the ocean. It is not biological. It is mechanical. The supervisor types a command. The waterfall display updates instantly. A jagged green line traces a heavy contact, moving south at high speed. The acoustics resolve into a distinctive, heavy pattern. Twin screws, massive displacement. The sound is a low, churning grind against the water, distinct from the lighter whine of commercial traffic. Con, sonar, new contact designated Master 1. The supervisor barks, his voice cutting through the quiet. Bearing 015. Range 20,000 yards. Acoustic signature matches heavy transport. The officer of the deck spins toward the fire control display. The captain steps out of his stateroom, boots hitting the metal deck hard. He moves directly to the sonar stack. He grabs the railing and leans in, studying the green lines cascading down the screen. Classify, the captain orders. His voice is flat and hard. Target is a landing ship, the supervisor confirms. Escorted by two smaller contacts, likely frigates. The submarine banks slightly as the helm responds to the automated tracking data. The heavy screw noises grow louder on the sensors. The target is moving fast, unaware of the predator beneath it. The captain studies the tactical plot. He points to the depth gauge. He orders the ship to descend beneath the thermal layer to mask their noise from the enemy destroyers above. The plainsman pushes the yoke forward. The deck tilts down. The submarine slips deeper into the cold abyss, hiding its acoustic signature behind the sharp temperature gradient. The massive propeller noise of the target thunders through the water, leading the submarine straight to it. 0430 hours, 40 miles west of the Palawan Passage. The submarine ascends. The angle is steep. The hull groans as the immense water pressure decreases. Inside the control room, the red lights reflect off the sweating faces of the fire control party. The hum of the electric drive drops to a whisper. The sonar operator monitors the passive feeds, listening for the telltale ping of enemy active sonar. The water above is turbulent, mixing with the heavy rain hitting the surface. 100 feet, the diving officer calls out. Coming to periscope depth. The captain stands at the center of the con. He checks the sonar display one last time. The escorts are close, but the noise of the storm masks the submarine's approach. He gives the signal. The quartermaster engages the hydraulic lever. The periscope mast hisses and slides upward, piercing the overhead. Scope breaking surface, the captain announces. The digital feed snaps onto the main monitors. The camera breaks through the foam. Rain lashes the lens. The image stabilizes. The horizon is dark, jagged with waves. Then, the target fills the screen. The landing ship is a behemoth. It plows through the heavy swells, displacing thousands of tons of water. Its deck is stacked high with canvas-covered trucks and armored vehicles. Dozens of soldiers line the rails, smoking cigarettes, their silhouettes distinct against the gray moonlight. They look relaxed, unaware. To the port side, a frigate cuts a sharp wake. Its radar dishes spin rapidly. The gun turrets scan the empty ocean. It passes within 2,000 yards of the periscope. The wake from the warship washes over the lens, momentarily obscuring the view. The captain grips the handles. He rotates the optic 360 degrees. He marks the range. He marks the bearing. The targeting computer locks the solution. Down scope, he orders. The mast retracts instantly, sliding back into the sail with a hydraulic whine. The image vanishes. The control room returns to the digital representation of the battle space. The target is confirmed. The trap is set. Out 4:45 hours. Submerged. The submarine accelerates. The electric motor hums with increased power. The propeller bites into the water, driving the 60-ton vessel forward. The tactical plot shows the enemy formation clearly. The massive landing ship in the center. The two frigates flanking it in a V formation. The gap between the escorts is the kill zone. The submarine aims directly for it. Make your depth 150 feet, the captain orders. The plainsman pushes the yoke. The submarine dips. It glides beneath the wake of the portside frigate. The turbulence rattles the hull. Loose pens roll across the chart table. The sonar operator winces as the roar of the frigate's screws washes over the sensors. It is deafening, but the noise works in their favor. The enemy's own engines blind their passive sonar. They cannot hear the predator slipping into their shadow. The weapons officer stands ready at the firing pin. His hands hover over the switches. Flood tubes 1 and 2, he commands. Water rushes into the torpedo tubes. The pressure equalizes with the sea outside. The heavy doors slide open. The submarine shudders slightly as the weight shifts. Target solution is 95%, the fire control technician calls out. Range 4,000 yards. Closing. The submarine enters the inner defensive ring. The landing ship is now directly ahead. Its massive acoustic signature dominates the sensors. The submarine slows to a crawl. It drifts. Silent. Deadly. The crosshairs on the digital display settle squarely on the landing ship's midsection. The captain watches the stopwatch. Every second brings the escorts closer to detecting the anomaly. The tension in the room is physical. Men breathe shallowly. Eyes are locked on the red numbers counting down the distance. Final bearing match, the captain says. Set triggers for acoustic homing. The weapons officer flips the safety covers. The red buttons glow. The submarine is inside the perimeter. There is no turning back. 0500 hours. Combat depth.
Weapon status, green.
The firing solution is locked. The captain stares at the red digital crosshairs. He speaks 2 words. Shoot 1. The weapons officer smashes the trigger. Compressed air explodes into the tube. The submarine bucks violently. A massive bubble of high-pressure air ejects from the bow. The first heavyweight torpedo shoots out into the black water. Shoot 2. The second trigger snaps down. The hull shudders again. The second weapon tears free. 2 silver cylinders accelerate instantly. Their counter-rotating propellers blur into motion. They scream toward the surface at 50 knots. A thin copper guidance wire unspools from the rear of each weapon, trailing back to the submarine's fire control computer, like a nervous system. The weapons officer manipulates the joystick. He steers the first weapon toward the heavy propeller noise at the target's stern. He guides the second toward the fuel bunkers amidships. The torpedoes activate their active sonar. A high-pitched electronic scream pierces the ocean. It bounces off the steel hull of the landing ship. The weapons lock on. They pitch upward, shedding depth rapidly. The gap closes. 3,000 yards. 2,000. The sound of the torpedo screws rises to a shrieking whine. They cut through the thermal layers. They ignore the current. They hunt the metal giant. 0502 hours. Surface 0. The sonar warning on the landing ship screams too late. The first torpedo closes the final 100 yards in 4 seconds. It strikes the starboard propeller shaft. The warhead detonates. A massive shockwave pulverizes the stern. The explosion shreds the massive bronze propellers like tinfoil. It blows the rudder clean off its hinges. The entire aft section of the ship lifts 10 feet into the air. Steel plates buckle and tear open. Seawater rushes into the engine room, instantly killing the turbine crew. The ship loses all forward momentum. It shudders violently, dead in the water. 2 seconds later, the second torpedo slams amidships, directly under the keel. The blast is catastrophic. The explosion creates a massive gas bubble beneath the hull. The bubble expands, lifting the 14,000-ton vessel upward. The ship creates a hump in the ocean. Then the bubble collapses. The hull loses support. Gravity takes over. The keel snaps. A deafening screech of tearing metal echoes across the water. The ship breaks its back. The hull splits open from the waterline to the main deck. A geyser of white water and black oil shoots 300 feet into the air. Debris, jeeps, crates, bodies, rains down onto the surrounding sea. The midsection vanishes in a fireball as fuel tanks rupture and ignite. The shockwave hits the escort frigates, rocking them violently. The landing ship is broken. 0505 hours. Main deck of the landing ship. Black smoke boils from the shattered midsection, choking the air. The massive vessel lists sharply to port. The deck angle hits 20 degrees and steepens rapidly. Thousands of troops scramble toward the high side. They grip railings, cargo nets, and each other. Boots slip on slick oil and spreading blood. The roar of the fire drowns out the shouting officers. Near the bow, a heavy battle tank strains against its transport chains. The steel cables snap. The sound cracks like a gunshot. The 40-ton machine slides sideways. It gathers speed across the wet steel. It plows through a group of soldiers pinned against the railing. It flattens them instantly. The tank smashes through the guardrail and plummets into the sea, splashing water high onto the deck. Another armored vehicle follows, then a cargo truck. The deck becomes a mechanical avalanche. Men leap from the rails to avoid the sliding steel. They dive into the black water below, but the surface is treacherous. Leaking fuel ignites. A sheet of orange flame races across the waves. It engulfs the swimmers. They thrash briefly in the fire, then disappear beneath the burning surface. The ship groans loudly as the internal bulkheads fail. 0510 hours. Bridge of the lead frigate. The shockwave passes. The captain regains his footing. He stares at the burning wreck of the landing ship. He grabs the radio handset. He screams the order to fire. Weapons free. Target bearing 270. The frigate turns hard to starboard. Its active sonar pings violently, hammering the ocean floor with acoustic energy. The combat systems lock onto the transient noise of the submarine's launch transient. On the foredeck, the blast doors of the anti-submarine launcher fly open. Flame shoots from the tubes. 4 rocket-propelled torpedoes scream into the gray sky. They arc over the water, trailing white smoke. They reach the apex and jettison their boosters. The payloads drop into the sea with a heavy splash. Parachutes detach. The torpedoes activate, circling, hunting. At the stern, sailors wrestle heavy depth charges onto the rail. They pull the pins. The steel canisters roll off the ramp. They hit the wake, one after another. 1, 2, 3, 4. They sink rapidly. 10 seconds later, the ocean floor heaves. Boom! The surface erupts. Massive white pillars of water shoot 200 feet into the air. The concussive force hammers the water column. The shock waves overlap, creating a wall of pressure, moving straight for the American submarine. The frigate accelerates, driving right over the suspected contact area, dropping more explosives. The sea boils. 0512 hours. Submerged. The ocean transmits the violence perfectly. The shock waves from the depth charges travel faster than sound, hammering against the submarine's steel skin. The hull rings like a struck bell. Dust shakes loose from the overhead cabling, filling the control room with a fine gray mist. The deck vibrates violently beneath the crew's boots. "Cut wires!" the captain yells over the din. "Emergency deep! All ahead flank!" The weapons officer flips the toggles. The copper guidance wires snap. The connection to the torpedoes is severed. The plainsman shoves the yoke forward. The submarine pitches down sharply. The angle is extreme, 35 degrees. Maps, coffee cups, and loose tools slide off the consoles and crash against the forward bulkhead. The crew grabs onto railings and fixed equipment to keep from falling. The electric engine screams as it pushes maximum power. The propeller churns the water, driving the 60-ton vessel toward the crushing depths of the abyss. Launch countermeasures! A hatch on the outer hull pops open. A canister shoots out. It begins to bubble and hiss, creating a wall of acoustic noise. A phantom submarine made of sound. Then the shockwave hits. The depth charge detonates close aboard. The submarine lurches sideways. The force throws the sonar supervisor out of his chair. He slams into the radar stack. Light fixtures shatter, showering the deck with glass. The red combat lights flicker and die, plunging the room into darkness. Emergency battles lanterns snap on, casting harsh white beams through the dust. A high-pressure hydraulic line in the overhead ruptures. A jet of hydraulic fluid sprays across the comm. It hits the electrical panel. Sparks shower the room. The air fills with the acrid smell of burning insulation. Damage control, report! The XO bellows. Seal the leak! A chief shouts. He scrambles up the tilted deck, slipping on the oily fluid. He grabs the manual isolation valve. He cranks the wheel hard. The spray sputters and stops. The submarine passes 800 feet. The hull groans loudly, compressing under the immense weight of the ocean. The rivets hold. The boat levels out, deep in the trench, sliding into the shadow of the thermal layer. 0530 hours. Surface. The broken landing ship groans one final time. The structural integrity fails completely. The internal bulkheads collapse under the pressure of millions of gallons of seawater rushing into the hold. The vessel surrenders to gravity. The list increases past 40 degrees. The starboard bilge rises out of the water. Wet, barnacle-encrusted steel shines in the gray morning light. The massive starboard propeller, twisted and silent, hangs uselessly in the air. The ship rolls. The motion is slow at first, then accelerates terrifyingly. The tall superstructure dips toward the sea. The radar mast hits the surface. It snaps off. The bridge windows smash against the waves. Water floods the command deck instantly. A massive cloud of white steam erupts as the ocean pours into the ship's hot funnel. The thermal shock blows the smokestack apart. Metal fragments rain down on the swimming survivors. The hull completely inverts. The flat bottom of the ship dominates the surface like a steel island. For a moment, it floats there, buoyant on trapped air pockets. Then, the weight of the water-filled bow drags it down. The stern rises vertical. The ship stands on its nose. Air vents whistle and scream as the pressure forces the remaining oxygen out of the hull. The sound is high-pitched and ghostly. Then, the slide begins. The massive vessel slips beneath the surface. It picks up speed. The water churns into a white foam. A massive vortex forms, spinning violently. It sucks debris, life rafts, and oil deep into the center. The ocean swallows the 14,000-ton tomb. The surface crashes back together. The screaming stops. 0600 hours. The kill zone. The sun breaks the horizon. It illuminates a maritime graveyard. A thick, iridescent blanket of oil covers 4 square miles of the ocean surface. It dampens the waves, creating a slick, unnatural calm. Debris stretches as far as the eye can see. Shattered wooden crates, torn life jackets, and jagged pieces of hull insulation bob in the black sludge. There is no ship. Only the stain remains. The 2 surviving frigates move slowly through the wreckage. Their engines are barely turning. Their active sonar is silent. The hunt is over. They have switched to rescue operations. Sailors hang over the rails, extending poles to the few oil-soaked survivors struggling in the muck. Rigid-hulled inflatable boats weave through the debris field, their crews pulling limp bodies from the water. 800 feet below, the U.S. submarine ghosts along the edge of the thermal trench. Speed is 3 knots. Ultra quiet. The electric drive turns the shaft so slowly the cavitation is non-existent. Inside the control room, The red lights are steady. The air is cold. The crew moves with deliberate, soft steps. No one speaks above a whisper. The sonar supervisor watches the waterfall display. The angry red lines of the frigate's engines fade into the background static of the ocean. The signal grows weaker with every minute. They are clearing the datum. The captain looks at the navigation plot. He traces a line east, toward the deep Pacific and the safety of the open ocean. He nods to the officer of the deck. The submarine adjusts its course. It slips deeper into the shadows of the underwater canyon, putting a mountain of water between itself and the surface. The steel shark vanishes into the infinite black.